Well, hello. I think that after the first two lectures that we had in the course, I think you are ready to write chapter one and chapter two. Also, because I think we have kind of a close deadline for the first submission, which is writing chapter one and chapter two. So I think it's a good idea if you already start work on this. But to help you with what to write and how to write, I will maybe prepare these videos explaining you what to write in each of the chapter. And this first video is about chapter one, the introduction. So I will try to overlap between the instructions from the Canvas that you find in Canvas and the good example that I also share with you. So um, this is, again, you can see in the instructions that although it's a good assignment, it's not perfect. So also be aware that you can even make it better, but it's a good follow, like good guidance that is still not perfect. So in introduction, the first section of the introduction is the background. And remember, you learned this in the first lecture where we discussed that the background is more empirical and try to answer to these questions when you write your section. So why is that research topic relevant in practice? Why do we need to study it? What is the impact of what we want to study? I think all of your topics are very relevant in practice. They are relevant in different ways. And I think you can write that in here. Usually you need, I don't know, two or three paragraphs for this background. Take a look at what they have done. I think they did more or less a good job. So explain why this topic is relevant from a practice perspective, I will say. Then in the next, I mean, maybe you don't even need two or three paragraphs. I mean, you can be more concise and maybe one long paragraph is enough. I mean, just build the argument. It's your topic, and remember that the context of what we are doing is it, everything is about university students. So keep that also in mind. I think they also do a good job at mentioning that. I think in the last paragraph, like students, well, they focus on Jönköping University, but maybe you can, I mean, I think that's one of the things that they could improve, because remember the focus is university students, not only Jönköping, but university students. I think it's important to put in the background. Then the next section, the problematization. I told you problematization is always tricky, and problematization is linked to the literature review. So it's always kind of an overlap between the two sections. So in here, explain from our current theoretical understanding what is not working correctly from your topic, from your relationship that you want to test, what is wrong, what could, why do we still need to test this? We might think that financial stress can be related to student happiness or unhappiness because it sounds logic, but why do we still have to do it? Here, as I mentioned in the lecture, in lecture one, try to exploit the context of the study, because maybe you can use the context to challenge the assumptions that are commonly done in the literature. What is the knowledge gap? What do we do not know? And why do we need this research project to develop the theoretical understanding of that topic? Remember, the problematization is much more theoretical. In the background, you don't need many references, but in the problematization, you need more references. And finally, purpose and question. But maybe let me take a look at this good example. I mean, like they try to include a few things. I mean, it's also, it could have been improved. I think it's not perfect, but I mean, they brought a nice kind of argumentation that in the Swedish context, the culture towards sustainability is different, and that can be worth discussing, especially in this generation. So I think it's an okay. I mean, it can always be improved. I mean, maybe a more theoretical, clear challenge. And finally, the purpose and research question. It's basically what you are going to do to fix this research problem. So what we are going to do, as I explained before, is that we are going to do a mixed methodology study where we are going to use quantitative data and qualitative data, and in maybe in that same paragraph explain why it's a good idea to include both sides. I think as discussed that with this it's a more robust study, and also you are trying to understand something that is objective and subjective at the same time. And at the end, finish with the research questions. And here I want to give you a gift that I think I already gave you in the lectures. I think all of you, you will have two research questions because you are doing kind of two studies in one, the quant and the qual. So for the quant, I suggest something like this, like they have done. What relationship does your independent variable have with sorry, the other way around. What relationship does your independent variable have with your dependent variable? So what relationship does financial stress have with student happiness? How you write it is different. I mean, you could have written, what is the relationship between financial stress and student happiness? And that's it. And the second question, the qualitative one, how does biospheric values influence student when grocery shopping? I mean, like maybe this could also have been improved a little bit more. Maybe they focus on joint shopping because of the interviews they use, but I will even propose a simpler research question. Uh, how does financial stress relates with student happiness? As simple as that. You don't need much complexity unless it's super important. I mean, maybe in their study this is extremely important and then they narrow it qualitatively. But I mean, like you can start with a broad research question focusing on the how. So that's it for chapter one. In the next, I will explain the chapter two.